Much shorter break, just like I promised. We're now in round 4 of YCS Rimini in beautiful Italy at the East Coast. And beautiful weather outside, but we're inside dueling. And that's not a bad thing because we have one of the most exciting tournaments in recent history.
It's a good place to be, inside dueling.
Yeah, and you said that the metagame breakdown is a little bit like asking a fortune teller for your future.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I was just thinking just then, like in Europe, in the European Championships, just like a month or so back, I was sat there and I was able to just be like, yeah, that's happening, this
Yeah.
is happening, but right now I'm just
Yeah, we
it's all
don't
over the
even know
place.
exactly what the field looks like, what the breakdown is going to look like. What we know is that we see a lot of creative decks. We have already had Battery Man this morning. We have seen a little bit of Burning Abyss. Now
Yep.
we've just seen a lot of Shaddoll
Yeah.
with the new addition of the clowns.
Yeah.
And then in the second round we had a Magical Explosion.
Yes.
So talk about diversity. We're going to continue and follow that track for a little longer, and we invited the Austrian Peter Gross to our feature match table. Peter is playing Kozmo this
Yes.
weekend. That is another big deal. It's interesting that this deck is like still missing something. You're playing some filler cards, but they are still going with it. Why is that, Luke?
Yeah, I just think it's. I was talking to Peter before, and he was saying that he finds the deck really fun, and he just wanted to give it a go.
Right,
And
right.
it's a brand new archetype, and so it's what's called a TCG exclusive. We are the first to get it, and we will keep being the only ones having it for a while.
Yeah.
So we get to experiment with all these cards before anyone else in the whole world.
Yeah, and so far it is serving him extremely well. He's sitting on table 30 or something like that, so he's undefeated at this time. And he's now going up against Michelangelo Meulli from Italy, and he is playing what we saw in the last round, the Shaddoll Clowns.
Yep.
And you said, I wouldn't mind not seeing this deck for like at least one round,
Yeah.
because it took a little longer, but I guess it's going to be a different kind of story when it's going up against a different deck.
Yeah, I think so. It was just like the mirror match between any deck is usually like really, really competitive. It takes quite a lot of brain power, which takes so much time.
Yeah, yeah. Umud
So-
was really like exhausted after the match. He was
Yeah.
like, this was one of the hardest matches I've had.
Yeah, I went in to see the guys afterwards, and they were both just kind of sat there, not really talking, but trying to talk about the match to each other, and it was just like, they didn't know what was going on.
All right.
It was just the sheer amount of options that are being created by these clowns.
Well, let's see how funny this match is going to be. Let's take you to the feature match table where these two guys are already sitting down, and they are ready to get their game on, with Michelangelo on the left-hand side and Peter on the right. And what else do we see in terms of interesting choices here? I mean, the Kozmo deck is pretty straightforward. You're basically maxing out on all the Kozmo cards. There are only 4 monsters.
Yeah. So something that's quite interesting, just from a like a high meta game kind of silly thing to mention. It's about the Peter Gross is playing 2 Upstart Goblins. Now, usually people decide to play Upstart Goblin because they want to play 37 cards in their deck, and Upstart Goblin kind of produces that effect by you being able to just draw it and draw a new card. But he must have not wanted to cut anything for some extra card to put it in the last minute, and he's just gone with 2 Upstart Goblins instead. So that's kind of funny. But
Also, we spoke to him yesterday about his deck, and you're gonna see this possibly even after this match already. And he wasn't quite sure what else to play, and he went with the Trap Tricks, and that's a nice way of filling those slots in the deck, right?
yeah, really interesting. So he's playing one of my favorite Trapple cards, Void Trapple, along with Trap Trick Trapple Nightmare. Both of those at 3. So those, I think it was five trap cards that we saw yesterday that he was showing us in the deck profile, added to with 3 Trap Tricks Trapple Nightmare and 3 Void Trapple.
Right. So here you can see that Michelangelo Meulli was kicking things off. He's got 3 back row cards. I'm going to predict that one of them is Breakthrough Skill.
Yep, so here's Kozmo Farm Girl. Kozmo Farm Girl's a real key part of the deck. When she inflicts battle damage, you can pay 500 life points to go and search your deck for a Kozmo card.
And you need this card to connect. Peter said this is one of the reasons why he's playing Honest. I asked him unfortunately, after we went offline with our interview, I came up with that question. I'm like, why are you playing cards like Shrink, for example? He said he tested them but they are really not that helpful against Necros. When something like Trishula hits the table,
Yeah.
and you want to make use of the slots you have to play cards that can stop your opponent's cards like Trishula from like wrecking you.
Yeah.
So he's fine with Honest. That works, and he's got some disruption or destruction, so to speak. And there we go. He's searching for the field spell.
Yep, he searched up Kozmo Town. Now, Kozmo Town has a massive effect. Ooh, okay, this is quite interesting to talk about straight away. So, Emergency Teleport isn't necessarily a Cosmo-based card, but Farm Girl is actually a psychic monster, as well as Good Witch being a psychic monster. That's irrelevant for the Emergency Teleport situation.
Because the Witch has 4 stars, yes?
Yes. But one cool thing about Farm Girl is that it's not once per turn. So what this allows Peter to do is to teleport the Farm Girl in from the deck. And
He just says the old card, yeah. Might be easier for you.
yeah,
And maybe one is German and maybe one is English, yeah.
yeah. So immediately, he's on the offensive here.
Oh, yes,
he is.
yes. And now there's a shell.
He has to.
Yeah.
Shaddoll Core. He has to play some defensive cards here.
And do you agree with not activating the core for the first attack?
Yeah, because it was, I don't want to show my hand too early. I don't want that to be destroyed. Because I want to keep my core to make some plays with.
But now suddenly
He's
you're
forced
like,
his hand.
my opponent is rushing ahead recklessly.
Yeah.
So I need to stop him, and it's going to cost him the core, I guess.
Yeah. Well, no, core has a very large
Yeah, it has
defense
3,000 def, I think. Yeah.
No, it's 1950.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 1450 by 1950.
Okay. And for some reason we're missing the hand of Peter Gross. I think our judge simply forgot to click the save button. But that's going to change eventually.
Yeah, so another cool effect of all of the Kozmo cards is, well, most of the Kozmo cards, they can banish themselves from the field. It's actually all of them apart from the large one, the Forerunner, that can banish themselves during either player's turn. And then you can summon another Kozmo from your hand to replace that one.
So that is still happening in the battle phase.
Yeah, so what completely in the battle phase still here.
Yeah.
So Shaddoll Fusion.
Yeah,
with the
it's interesting because Peter is really forcing Michelangelo to commit to some plays here. Like
he probably doesn't want to be committing to these plays so early.
He's like, I'm gonna make you play your Constructor or your Shaddoll Core and your Shaddoll Fusion, and we're still in the battle phase of this first turn of Peter Gross that is starting extremely aggressively. And keep in mind, guys, he's still got the Kozmo Town. He's going to pull ahead even further in main phase 2 with that card. And is there anything? There's no MSTs in the Shaddoll deck. So he is going to go to town with Kozmo Town, right?
Yes.
He's going to gain a lot of advantage from that card.
Yeah. So Kozmo Town, I'm going to try and shrink its effect down and explain it really quickly just because it has a lot of advantage of gaining effects. So once per turn, you can target a banished Kozmo monster and return that to your hand. You lose life points equal to its level. You can reveal any number of Kozmo monsters and then shuffle them back into the deck and draw the same amount of cards. And then the last effect is that if it's in the field card zone and it's destroyed by a card effect, you can add a Kozmo card from your deck to your hand. That's a lot of effects.
That is a lot, yeah. So you don't really want to destroy it because it's just going to return. And at this point in time, Peter could actually activate it and return the Farm Girl that he banished earlier or in the battle phase and bring it back. So it's immediately it's replacing itself.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
For like 300 life points,
Yeah.
that's what he's going to lose, and that seems like a very neat investment.
Yeah, that's just like that card just became that's completely free. Essentially, when he connected with that Farm Girl, he's just done so much from that. And Kozmo Town is, it's not a once per play effect. It's once every single turn.
Yeah. So some of you are still debating because we have a little bit of a delay on the stream. Why didn't Michelangelo negate the first attack already with the Shaddoll Core? And it seems like it would have been the better choice, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that he wanted to commit that core, because if he had something to remove the core, then, yeah, maybe.
Okay, here is the other effect.
Yeah, so he's shuffled back.
So he's basically getting 3 fresh cards.
Yeah.
And wow, so far it looks like a Kozmo show, so to speak. Everything is going really, really well for Peter. we are still missing the contents of his hand because I think Ryan was simply not saving it. There we go. Here we got something. There's an emergency teleport that he just drew into. Also, great card.
Yeah, so I'm being informed that we're having some technical difficulties
Okay.
with the app.
Wow. Now it's
So,
working. Looks good. And there's the Trap Tricks Meulli, the one that we mentioned, this late addition to the deck, that he wasn't quite sure and settled on yesterday when we talked to him.
Yeah, so I'm just having a quick look through the extra deck of Peter Gross.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like I was playing the Kozmo deck, and I didn't really know which cards to be putting in my extra deck. It was quite a lot of choice because you have a lot of different levels. But he seems to be playing a lot of synchro monsters for the use with Serene Psychic Witch. Is she a tuner monster?
Well, we can look that up. But he's only playing 5 different cards in his side deck, which is interesting. So he's basically maxing out on a number of these cards.
No, Serene Psychic Witch isn't. It's I assume it's the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbits that he has in his
Side deck.
that he's planning on using for synchroing.
All right, so there we see Shaddoll Fusion.
Yeah, Shaddoll doing what Shaddoll does best, and fusing into a construct.
Yeah, and that is basically the big question. Is Shaddoll going to be able to stand, like, go toe-to-toe with the Kozmo deck, or is it maybe even much better than the Kozmo deck?
Yeah. Well, one of the big advantages that you gain with Shaddoll is that your opponent can't use extra deck monsters. But Kozmo don't really use the extra deck monsters.
Yeah.
They just use Forerunner. That's this really big 2,800 attack monster that's untargetable.
Right. Yeah, one of the cards
big.
that can win games all on its own.
Yeah, it's really, really big.
But it's also not from the extra deck.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And it can replace itself immediately as soon as it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard as well, by card effect or by battle. So, let's see what Michelangelo does here. Now, he seems to be just not fearing Honest at all here.
I think he's not aware that Peter might be running Honest.
Yeah.
Well...
So he's going to banish that to summon Slip Rider. Now, Slip Rider kind of reminds me of Artifact Moraltak in the fact that, when it's special summoned, you get to destroy a card, and one of those, it can only destroy set cards, I think. It's Spell and Trap cards. So you can only destroy spell and trap cards, so it's not necessarily...
Well, there's a breakthrough skill.
There's a breakthrough skill, because why not?
Yeah, because I can.
Yeah.
And there's the construct dealing...
Yeah, so that was special summon, so Construct's effect's still going to work on that. And when it gets to the graveyard, it's going to be able to activate its effect. So the effect of Forerunner is that you can banish it from the graveyard when it's sent to the graveyard, and when it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, and special summon 1 level 6 or lower Kozmo monster from your deck.
So there's a lot of replacing going on with those Kozmo monsters, one tagging in the other. Feels almost like a better version of Gladiator Beasts.
Yeah, so Good Witch here. Good Witch is like a Book of Moon on legs. You can pay 500 life points to target one face-up monster on your opponent's side of the field and change it to face-down defense position.
Right. But that only works on your turn.
Yes.
That's something we should point out.
Yeah, it's an ignition effect.
Yep. But this is the so-called filler card. I mean, it's not terrible, but it is one card that would be. It has a big target on its head. On its head, it's like Peter said. I wouldn't be playing this if there was a better option available.
Yeah, I think just because it's called a Kozmo monster right now, is being played.
Yeah. All right, and there's another fusion. I think we're still in the battle phase.
Yes. I think that one thing that's quite scary is that. Like, we've seen 2 fusions happen here. Now, that usually results in...
Game over.
Game over, yes. Yeah. Well, not necessarily that, but just some amount of damage, whereas Pierre Grossi has only taken 800 points of damage during this whole turn.
That's an excellent point you're making there, yes.
That's crazy. And look at that. Pierre Grossi has 2 monsters on the
Right,
field.
exactly. He didn't have any spells or traps, and still he wouldn't take any damage. So, well, it looks like the Kozmo... archetype is able to hold its ground, and so far at least against the Shaddoll.
Yeah, and I say this now, we're still in Kozmo Town, so he's going to, next turn...
let's not forget about that card,
he's going to be able to swap out any of these current Kozmo monsters that are on the field for one of the ones that are banished.
Yeah, and he's got more tricks up his sleeve with an emergency teleporter, Raigeki, and Meulli. So
Yeah, so we could see Castell would be a really obvious play here. He could just, oh no, sorry,
yeah,
I
it's
thought,
still
yeah,
in the battle
because
phase. Yeah.
because he played El Shaddoll Fusion afterwards. Ah, okay, that's a shame. But yeah, we could still see some rank 4s being played
Yeah.
here with Memello.
Somebody ring the bell. That's a real shame. Okay, there we go. 2 face-down cards for Michelangelo Meulli.
Yeah.
That's a Shaddoll Core and I think another El Shaddoll Fusion. I think he's actually out of cards in his hand. And Peter Gross now has the before-mentioned emergency teleporter Raigeki Murmileo. And I mean, there are a couple of options. A Ring of Destruction, he just drew that. And his Kozmo Town is returning one of the monsters back to his hand. I think the Forerunner should have been the one.
So he used Kozmo Town to
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
it back to his hand, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Forerunner.
Yeah,
So let's see. He's going to summon the Traptrix Memello,
right.
which allows him to... He's still got his full range of trap cards because he's not actually seen that many.
Yeah. So I like the build of Peter Gross. It seems extremely flexible, and I like the way that he's combined these 2 archetypes.
Yeah, I think it's perfect how he's been able to use just enough space to fill the Kozmo engine in, and then add the extra parts. So what would be in the future, if we see any more Kozmo cards released, filled with other Kozmo-based cards, being filled with just these really powerful trap cards, and then with that small addition of just a few Traptrix Memellos,
Yeah.
it's just really added to it.
And what do you think of the Void Trap Hole?
Yes, as I was saying earlier, Void Trap Hole is one of my favorite trap hole cards. When a monster special summoned and it has 2,000 or more points of attack, you can negate the effect and destroy the monster. Or it might be... No, yeah, it is destroy.
Yeah,
so you
destroy
can
it.
negate its effect and destroy it. Now, the reason I used to like this card so much is because it works really well on Winder, because you can
yeah.
negate the effect of Winder to stop it from being destroyed, and then immediately destroy it and just deal with it straight away.
Yeah, normally that's a card that's kind of hard to deal with.
Yeah.
There's a Raigeki that is usually not that good against Shaddoll.
Yeah, so this is quite scary because Michelangelo's in range here. What's he got set? Okay,
Falcon.
he does have El Shaddoll fusion set and a core, so he's going to have 1 fusion summon. But still, if Peter Gross can, like, we can't quite see his hand here, but if he has a lot of the Kozmo cards in his hand, then we can't see the Kozmo cards. So if he does have those in hand, then he could go and attack for a lot of damage here.
Alright, but there's a Shekinaga.
Yeah, so we do know that he has a Forerunner in hand.
And Michelangelo is holding on to another El Shaddoll Fusion, a normal Shaddoll Fusion, which is not doing very much here.
Yeah.
And the performance damage juggler. So he's also playing those clowns.
Yeah.
But so far they didn't really gain him a lot of advantage.
No, I don't think we've seen them yet. So one key thing to think about. So Michelangelo here, he's got a lot of fusion cards, but not a lot of material.
Right. So Peter Gross in a pretty good position.
Yeah, perfect.
With some disruption in his back row.
Yeah, well, he has Ring. He can just ring anything that's a problem.
And that is the new version of Ring of Destruction, of course.
Yeah.
Let's see if we have the current card text for you guys.
Yeah, so it's
no longer as lethal as it used to be.
No, so you can. It's only during your opponent's turn. You can target one of your opponent's monsters, and then you lose the damage, the attack points of the monster, and then they lose it as well.
And also the attack needs to be less than or equal to their life points. So it's no longer like
you can't.
you have like 500 life points. You have a monster of 2,000 attack. That's game for me. Those days are over. But it's still a very powerful card, even with this different effect text.
Yeah, no doubts at all, because he can just deal with problem cards on the spot.
Yeah.
Now has he just set El Shaddoll fusions? If he's just set both El Shaddoll fusions, which I can't see him doing, then we might be seeing a ring on that Shekinaga, which would be very interesting. So Farm Girl here, I think, is just going to be used purely to summon a Forerunner.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think we're still in the battle phase?
Yeah, we must be. Oh no,
Peter is first bringing that out to destroy one of the back row cards.
No, Forerunner doesn't destroy back row cards. It's just untargetable. a little bit unsure as to what's going on here. So, well, yeah, he teleported Farm Girl in, then banished Farm Girl to summon Forerunner, and then Forerunner's effect is now... Oh, so Shekinaga must have attacked over Forerunner. Does Shekinaga have enough attack? What's the attack of Shekinaga?
It has 2,600.
Yeah, so that's enough. That's not enough. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused as to what's going on.
Yeah, we're not quite 100% sure.
I don't know how Forerunner was destroyed, but that's probably just something I'm missing. But anyway, so Forerunner's been destroyed. Forerunner's effect's being used, which is going to be able to get him another Kozmo monster from his deck. Now, what are we going to see? So we see a Farm Girl.
The last one of the 3, I think.
Yep. So again, Kozmo Town is very much in play here.
Yeah.
He's just gaining more and more cards by adding those back to his hand.
Right. Peter Gross did just that, returned one again.
Mm-hmm.
But how is he? I mean, he's got the Ring of Destruction to deal with. Oh, I think he drew into an Honest. Yeah, he did draw into an Honest. There we go.
Yeah. So
there's the attack on Shekinaga.
he's going to ask literally the scariest question you ever get when you're playing against a light deck. Is it okay to enter damage calculation? Now, that is the scariest question you can ever possibly have.
Yeah, and we have seen some excellent bluffs where light monsters have been sent into an opponent's monster that was stronger with no Honest on the hand.
Yeah.
And the opponent is just so afraid that he's going to lose to Honest that he eventually
He plays
gives
something.
in, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to play Mirror Force or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's getting rid of a really good card that otherwise he could have saved for a little bit longer just because of Honest.
Yep.
And of course that triggers the Farm Girl again.
Yeah,
So Peter Gross is again allowed to search.
If he has another Forerunner, he can just attack with Slip Rider and then banish Slip Rider and then summon Forerunner and then...
There we go. We're still in the
Win.
battle phase. And there's yet another attack.
Oh, Damage Juggler. Okay.
Okay.
So that Damage Juggler is going to stop this damage. But he's going to just
Peter-
chain and
Peter's
summon
like,
Forerunner.
all right, then I'll just use the next one. There we go. Wow. That was a lot of tagging in and tagging out. And suddenly the Kozmo deck is ahead.
Yeah.
Wow, what an excellent victory for Peter Gross. The deck, I gotta say, it did more than what I expected to see.
Yeah, you think? I was playing this deck, and this is not unusual.
Okay.
What we just saw now.
I thought like
I'm not saying you've not seen it, but just
no,
generally.
I was more like, yeah, one of these things is happening once that he's tagging in or tagging out, something like that. But I didn't think that it's gonna happen like this consistently all the time.
Yeah.
All right, so now what's happening? Michelangelo is definitely gonna look for that mystical space typhoon, isn't he? Or is it any good against the... I mean, it's not too bad against the Kozmo Town, I guess.
Yeah, it's great against Kozmo Town. You definitely want to get that in against Kozmo Town. The effect of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit was another thing that's going to be able to stop that Kozmo Town.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just... So it's great against face-up, continuous spells, traps, and the field spells, because obviously they don't resolve if they're not on the field. Now, this is just something I want to point out, how absolutely, like... cool as a cucumber Peter is looking right now. I must admit, when I get a lot of damage on the board like this, you get pretty excited about the fact you just managed to destroy your opponent. But he is looking like he is just
the Iceman.
Yeah,
the Iceman cometh. Yeah,
yeah.
But Peter has been there before. He has won 3 Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship series in different formats, even like both in sealed pack play as well as in constructed. So he's a master of this game. He's not playing as regularly as he used to. However, his friends were like, hey, we're going to Rimini. We're going to have a good time. He's living in Vienna, so that's not too far.
Yeah.
So he was just like, yeah, I'm going to have a vacation with you guys. And when I'm there anyway, just hand me some interesting, funny deck that I can play.
Yeah.
And with those years of experience, he doesn't need as long as other players to get into a new deck and make the most of it. And so far, it seems like the Kozmo deck is serving him really, really well. All right. So that is it for the first game. Other cards. What do you think about Denko Seka against the Kozmo archetype?
Well, what seems to be quite strange is that we didn't actually see that many trap cards from Peter. So he's playing a lot of trap cards, like a quarter of his deck is trap cards.
Right.
So like over a quarter of his deck. So I just think I don't know if that was me, I wouldn't necessarily think, oh, Denkosekka's got to go in.
Yeah.
But maybe.
Although you kind of expect if somebody's running trap tricks that they are running at least a few more trap holes.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, you definitely good point there. We didn't see that much, and like you said, we see bottomless trap hole, torrential tribute, ring of destruction, solemn warning, vanity's emptiness. So much to stop an opponent's deck. All the back rows that Peter needs.
Yeah. So I think there's quite a few cards that Michelangelo is going to be able to take out here. If I'm not actually read the list too closely, but there might be some stuff that he can take out.
Yeah, he's got cards like Dark Hole in the side deck, which is not too bad against this archetype, I guess.
Yeah, I'm thinking more along the lines of he's got like 6 cards immediately that I see on in his side deck, being the Mystical Space Typhoons, the Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbits, and then potentially the Denkosekka is going to 9 cards that you're going to want to put in.
It's hard to make that much space, yeah.
That is, again, almost a quarter of Michelangelo's deck here. That's quite a lot.
Alright, that's the handshake for game 2. This time, I think Michelangelo is going to go first.
Yep.
And do you agree with that decision? Would you want to go first here?
I don't really know why he's gone first. I think it would be better to have that extra card. But maybe he's got some other things planned. I mean, he's playing enough hand traps for it to be like rewarding to go second.
Right. Oh yeah, actually he wanted to go second here. And it looks like Peter's hand is missing a few cards, but we just learned that there seems to be some technical difficulties, and the latest cards, at least the Kozmo cards apparently, not all of them can be displayed on the app for some reason. We're going to figure that out in between rounds, so for this round you might be missing out on a few cards. Peter did side into the Retaliating Sea.
Yeah. So that's very interesting, and a great card against Shaddoll.
Yeah.
But it does seem like Peter does have
one Kozmo card.
Yeah, one Kozmo card in hand. But the main thing here is that he has 3 cards in hand that are all side deck cards. Now sometimes that can be great.
Yeah.
It really can, because you can just deal with everything your opponent does. You can just be like, yep, that's not happening, that's not happening, that's not happening. But in this particular situation, I don't think he's got like the exact right cards to be used here.
Right, and Peter finds the first Kozmo monster.
Yeah, so Witch is going to connect by the looks of it.
Yep.
And then he's going to try and use Witch's effect. So yeah,
but there's a Vanity's Emptiness.
Yeah, so he must have another Kozmo card in hand that we can't see. But it's going to be Slip Rider or Forerunner, because you have to summon something that's bigger than the level of your monster.
You have to go big. Alright, so here's the parts of the hand of Peter Gross, and as you guys just heard, we can fill in the blanks. There's going to be one more higher star monster.
Yeah, so Slip Rider or Forerunner.
Yeah. Alright, and Michelangelo, on the other hand, we have perfect information here. And do you agree with the decision to play a monster? Because if that monster gets destroyed in battle, the Vanity's Emptiness is going to pop.
Yeah, so I can't remember the attack of Damage Juggler.
It's got 1,500.
Yeah, but so that's reasonably big.
Yeah.
I think. It's not actually... no, when I say it's reasonably big, it's not bigger than any of the Kozmo monsters, but still, Peter's only play was that Witch play. So, in this situation... Okay, so he did top deck another Witch.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
There we go. And it attacks over the Juggler, and that will cost the Vanity's Emptiness. And like my reasoning was, don't you want to just like sit there and wait for your Vanity's Emptiness to put in a little bit more work?
Yes, that was major as well. The fact that he got a Witch off the top there was fantastic. So he's able to summon the Witch, attack over that, get rid of Vanity's Emptiness, and play Forerunner. Now Forerunner is a force to be reckoned with. It's untargetable, and it's got 2,800 attack points. And even if you do get rid of it, you can still go and get a Slip Rider from your deck and just summon that straight back out.
Yeah, so that's the boss monster of the archetype.
Yeah, so far, well, from what we can see, that is the boss monster of the archetype.
Yeah.
So we see Damage Juggler's other effect coming into play here to go and get that Trick Clown from the deck. So I think Peter's looking like really safe right now.
Yeah,
he's
he's
got a
like,
lot of hand traps.
what else do you got?
Yeah, he has Honest, so yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But okay, so you know, anybody could say, well, Dark Hole, that deals with that perfectly fine. But we just see that it's going to replace itself. He's potentially going to go get Farm Girl here, because why not go get Farm Girl? You have Honest in hand.
Yeah. And there we have the Retaliating Sea, one of the best cards against Shaddoll.
Yeah, so but here we go. So Peter, again, playing it super safe. He's getting rid of his opponent's cards there. Plays the Slip Rider. Again, he has Honest. He can still, with Honest, the only thing that's going to be able to get around Honest is Construct Effect. But he has Diffusion.
Yeah.
And here's the Retaliating Sea.
There we go.
This is macro on legs.
Yeah. And it's so good against Shaddolls. You have explained that yesterday when we first looked at that card.
Yeah.
Pointing out that since the materials for the fusion are being sent not to the graveyard but being banished instead, they don't trigger their graveyard effects.
Nope, they don't. They don't get any effects. And yeah, I mean, and when Retaliating Sea gets sent to the graveyard, you get to go and search for your Max Sea.
I think what we're seeing here is a chained L Shaddoll fusion.
Yeah, that makes so much sense because he's going to be able to.
The materials are going to go to the graveyard.
Yeah, he's going to resolve the El Shaddoll fusion before the Retaliating Sea actually makes it to the field, which is great.
That's an excellent way out.
Yep.
Even though, but since Peter has a second one.
Yep, we're gonna see.
Wow, this is the mother of all chains.
This is actually insane because we're going to see one Retaliating Sea hit the field, and okay, Michelangelo's body language right then very much said, "Really?
Yeah. Why do you have to do this to me?" All right, let's recap really quickly. Retaliating Sea can be special summoned from your hand if your opponent activates a card like Monster Reborn, anything, a spell card that special summons a monster.
Yeah.
It's not very good against Monster Reborn, but it is amazing against any sort of fusion summon or ritual summon, because since it is a Macrocosmos on legs, the materials are no longer being sent to the graveyard. So that happens. Peter Gross found his answer in his side deck and chains it to a Shaddoll fusion. Michelangelo Meulli has a perfect answer with an L Shaddoll fusion, chaining that to the first Retaliating Sea. However, Peter Gross has a second copy of Retaliating Sea.
I mean, just look at, so he has to give up 4 cards here.
Yeah, for one monster on the field, and he's not going to get any effects.
What's even better is the second Shaddoll fusion has to resolve because he can resolve it and summon another construct.
So he loses one construct, it doesn't trigger in the graveyard.
Nope, gets banished straight away, and he's just going to diffuse.
And there's a diffusion, wow, wow. Game, set, and match for Peter Gross. What a knockout combination. I think we've never seen anything like this.
That was a spectacular chain.
Yeah. And like you mentioned this before, sometimes you don't want to draw all the cards from your side deck.
Yeah.
However, this was one of those situations where you're like, yes, I'm going to take another one.
Yeah.
I'm going to take another one. And then, oh, you bring it. Okay, I got all the answers.
Yeah. So I remember I was saying about how you don't, if you do draw all of those, it's going to have to be those situations where it's like, okay, I have a situation. Nope. I have a situation. Nope. 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 And that's basically what just happened in that last turn. We saw one fusion. Nope. Second fusion. Nope. Oh, finally we get the fusion monster out. Nope, just put that back in the extra deck.
Yeah, and because you don't have diffusion, I think we might have like skipped a few beats right there. Diffusion, of course, puts the fusion monster apart, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then you're allowed to bring back the materials from the graveyard if they are still there, and that's the key here because they are no longer there.
Yeah, but it's only if they're in your graveyard. You can still diffuse one of your opponent's monsters, but you just don't get the material.
Right. So in that case, it's just a straight card that says
like
get rid of this. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Retailing Sea never like I wouldn't be surprised if we see the market price of this card go up after this this scene goes live.
Yeah.
And Wow, what an excellent showing by Peter Gross. And
Yeah.
my question is that a fluke? I
I-
mean, he's 4-0 now, of course. But did you see anything, or could you identify a weakness of the deck in this matchup at least?
I honestly, before I talk about these weaknesses, I must admit that was very lucky to have double retaliating C and diffusion,
Right.
especially in that situation. Because it's quite funny that if you'd have just summoned a beast in attack position and attacked over and over again, he had no response. Like,
Right.
it's one
Right.
of those things where he had cards to stop the deck doing what the deck's supposed to do, and you want to play the deck how you're supposed to play it.
Right.
It's one of those weird situations where it's like, okay, I'm going to make my Shaddoll cards do what they're supposed to do, but you just had all the answers.
Right, yeah. And it must be so frustrating to play against such a deck when you're like, I got an answer to this annoying side deck card, to the retaliating C, and then exactly when that happens, he's like, oh yeah, well, but I got another annoying side deck card that is going to stop you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then again, it wasn't just twice; it was three
It
times.
was it was a 3-time combination.
Yeah. Michelangelo was thinking, oh well, at least I get to keep a construct.
Yeah.
No.
No, not even
No
that. I'm
thanks.
not even going to give you that. Wow, excellent play. And some of you pointed out this game could have taken a very, very different development if the first attack of the first farm girl would have been stopped by the Shaddoll core. And that's also
Yeah.
something like those tiny decisions, they can make a very, very big difference.
Yeah, massive impact.
At this level.
I mean, so we were talking about that Kozmo town earlier. It was like he got like 3 free cards.
Yeah, winning the first game for him, yeah.
Yeah, easily the winning card right there.
Right. Wow. Kozmo deck, going to Kozmo town. And it's,
Oh, that was bad.
it's a bad day. It's a bad day for the Shaddoll monsters. We've seen them lose this round. The last round they ended up in a draw, which is of course not a loss, but also not the ideal result, so to speak. And we are gonna have the metagame breakdown as soon as we got it. The judges are working hard on that, as far as I'm aware. They are gonna bring it to you. I just wanna, before we talk to Peter, I want to quickly talk about something else, because you guys saw that before this round we had an interview with Adrian Fox from the UK offices of Konami, and he showed you this red envelope right here, which is not like in Germany where you get an invoice in it that says, hey, you're late. This is for a brand new tournament series that is called Matt's Baby. That's the project title inside the offices.
Yeah.
We forgot to mention that yesterday, so I'm doing it now. And it is basically an invite for a regional tournament that's going to take place. That's and there are a couple of these tournaments depending on the size of the country.
Yeah,
so
it's a multi-stage event, isn't it?
right. So you have a local qualifier, which is local event, like a sneak peek, so to speak, and there you can qualify for this regional tournament. Like not like a regional, but it's something like not happening in your country, in your store, but more like in a larger chunk.
Yeah.
Of town, so
Yeah.
to speak. We don't know the exact numbers yet, but depending on the number of players in the country, there are more of these tournaments. So let's say Germany is a bigger market, we're going to have 6 of these qualifiers.
Yeah.
The UK is slightly smaller, 5.
Yeah.
Like I'm just making this up, guys. Don't take my word for it. It's going to be on the website.
Yeah,
And-
all the information is on there.
Yeah.
Some of the locations are even being in the works, so they'll be on there pretty
Right.
soon.
And the coolest part about this tournament program is not just that it gives you something to do in the summer season when normally nothing else is happening, or little else is happening. You can also win exclusive playmats,
Yep.
and you can win a former YCS prize card.
Yeah.
So that's the easiest way to get your hands on a card that used to be a super exclusive card, a YCS prize card,
Yeah.
and you can win it almost in your store, so to speak.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yes, so this is a tournament series coming up, starting roughly in September. All the information is going to be on the website. Speaking of the website, we're going to have everything that you see today in the coverage on our YouTube channel. So if you're getting bored of watching us live for whatever reason that is, and you want to skip something, you can head over to YouTube and re-watch some of the highlights. I think we're even uploading while we're streaming, so round 1 might already be available on YouTube. With that, I think that's all the things I wanted to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's take a very short pause for the course, and then we're going to be right back with Peter Gross from Austria.